Okay, so welcome back, everybody. And we're going to get rocking and rolling here. So I'm going to do my little screen share. And we left off last week. We left off here with sharing that your fear is unique to you, not a weakness or a sign of something is wrong with you. And so we need to get over hiding fear. We need to welcome it, recognize it, and accept it for what it actually is. Always have a plan. That's the most important thing for getting yourselves out of any kind of jam or whatever things coming down the pipe. So you got to have some sort of plan. And that plan has to be your plan, not somebody else's plan. And so remember, there is no way that you are consciously going to be able to avoid fear. It's an involuntary response. So this session, we're going to be moving on, and we're starting to cover all of the strategies and different techniques for helping yourself with your fear. And all of these will also help with your vagal tone. They'll help remove the physiological stress and response that's occurring in your body. And so the first ones we're going to talk about is happening. Now, for those of you that were with us with part one, you will be a little bit familiar with these because we talked about them. And then I suggested that you buy the little booklet called Sovereign Health Solutions by Eva Detko, because she has all of these in her little book, and you can click the link and then you have them with you forever, and you can do them as often and whenever you like. And so the modality that is called Havening technique is comes other names. So it can be called the delta wave techniques and amygdala depotentation techniques. And basically, it's a psychosensory treatment that uses simple touch to permanently eliminate unwanted feelings from distressing memories and events. And so in addition, because of all of that, this modality is extremely useful for promoting self-growth, and it gives you resilience. And so anybody can learn these, anybody can do these, and they're pretty straightforward, and you can follow them pretty simply. And so I have a couple of links here that I wanted just to kind of show you, because there's other places where you can go and learn as much as you want to learn about Havening. Relatively new, but here's the havening.org website. So you can read to your heart's content on here. What types of problems do the Havening techniques address? You know, are the sessions of Havening techniques permanent? You get to read all of this, understand all of it. So now I've used Havening quite a bit, and I really love it. I really love Eva Detko. I just think she is the most amazing human on the face of the planet when it comes to being able to not only lead you, but explain the process extremely well. I'm not even sure why my thing just disappeared here, but nonetheless it did, but oh well. So hopefully I'm screen sharing and you can see this. Just make sure here, because All right, so this is what we're, yeah, anyhow, crazy how it just kind of does its own thing. Anyhow, so yeah, I just can't say enough about her. And then here's another site that gives you a bit more. Okay, so now, yeah, I guess. Okay, so all right, so it doesn't want to go there, but nonetheless, you know, amazing technology, and you find stuff and it doesn't work. But anyhow, the Havening is the main place to go. So here is the Sovereign Health Solutions. This is the little book that I was telling you about. And it is absolutely amazing. And so you can order it. You can order it here, or you can order it off of Amazon. I got mine off of Amazon. But Dr. Eva Deco has this amazing site. She has all sorts of other services that she offers. You know, I can't say enough about her. She is an absolutely amazing human being. And for those that want to learn more about the vagus nerve, she has a free ebook that she gives away. And so, yeah, she is just pretty amazing. So this is her little site here. Okay, so then I guess I don't kind of know why it does this when it cuts out what I'm trying to share. Probably because I don't know how to do it properly. Okay, and so then here we have, this is the resource section in the book. And so when you get her book, the back of her book is an area where you can get a membership free. And then you are able to access all of the additional resources that come with that book. And this is why I so recommend the book. So we have all of these different things, all using Havening, all the different Havening techniques. And so this is just so powerful. So she covers breathing exercises, yeah, gratitude Havening, connecting, yeah. And so the one we're going to kind of deal with today is this one, dealing with traumatic memories. Now she covers a whole whack of different things in here. And so on here, it's 45 minutes long, but the actual technique is really only about maybe 15 minutes long. And so that is what we are going to do. So this one here gives you an introduction, goes through the whole gamut. So I really highly recommend get that book and use it as your Bible. All righty. So then somebody else that I wanted to point out that I found. And so Kate here also uses Happening and has all sorts of other little gizmos that you can tap into. And so this is another site. She's got a lot of free resources, a blog. So you have the opportunity to learn all sorts of, again, things to help you on your journey for getting rid of all the crap that we have stored inside our body. And so I wanted to make sure that I shared this with you because very, very powerful stuff. Okay. Now we're getting into our Advent Havening. And this here has been just the most amazing little technique. So we can do this here together, or you can just watch it and that's totally up to you. I have used this. So let's just say I had an interaction with somebody and they said things that kind of bothered me. And for whatever reason, I couldn't shake it. I just kept replaying that event in my head because it really upset me and really bothered me. So I can use this technique and I can remove all of that emotional attachment to that event. And so, of course, I'm doing my whole vagal tone a huge favor because I'm releasing the physiological response. And by eliminating, I'm not keep replaying it and building that trench deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And so, yeah, I have used this so much, and I hope you find this just as easy. And so maybe you've had other traumas that were greater, you know, you're scared of falling off a roof, or you got bucked off and now you're terrified. And every time you think about your horse, all that stuff keeps coming back. Well, this is a technique that's going to help you really overcome a lot of that. And so here we go.
Hello and welcome to lesson 1. In this session, we are going to learn event havening. I'm going to teach you about event havening and what you can use it for. So just a reminder that havening techniques is a psychosensory therapeutic modality and that can permanently heal trauma, anxiety, fears, phobias. And what it also does, it also helps us with just rearranging the brain. It can help us with negative beliefs, poor self-worth, etc. And so havening helps because it creates alterations in our brain. And psychosensory simply means that we're applying sensory touch and we're creating an effect on the brain, on our neurology, as this specific havening touch produces this cascade of electrochemical responses, and you get a release of different neurotransmitters and different hormones, and through that you have that positive impact on your nervous system. And so just a reminder that we've got 3 sides, so we can stroke the face, hands in this way, and also arms. So we're going from the top of the shoulder all the way down to the elbow, and then we're picking hands up and sweeping down again, right? So just a reminder, obviously you're keeping your arms by your sides as you're doing that. I'm just demonstrating. And so there are many different variations of havening, and in fact, one of the reasons why I really like working with this method, apart from the fact that it's super effective, is that it actually combines really well with other modalities, strategies, techniques. So you can, when you work with trauma, literally go indefinitely into creating all sorts of products with different ways that you can work with it. And so what I want to do in this session, like I said, is event havening. So what I want you to make sure of is that you are in a quiet, safe space when you are going to just be able to engage with this and not be interrupted. And so for this session, you're going to need to find a memory. It can be recent or old memory, because this is why it's called event havening. We're actually going to deal with an unpleasant event or memory from your past. Like I said, more or less recent. It just really depends what's going to come to you. And you're going to think about this event, memory, whatever happened. And the whole crux of this method is that if you activate this negative feeling of anger, frustration, panic, guilt, whatever it is, shame, sadness, whatever it is, betrayal, rejection, we can deal with it and make sure that we are going to free the memory of any emotional content. So let me just quickly explain what I mean by that. If you think back to something that happened and you have absolutely no emotional response to it, then that has no effect on your nervous system. But what happens to a lot of people with a lot of situations and a lot of memories that they have is that they recall a memory and immediately they have this rise of this negative feeling. And the moment that you have that negative feeling, you obviously then activate your fight or flight. And then we have that negative impact on the nervous system, which we are trying to avoid, because it is that cascade of negative feelings and emotions, which happens to to people over and over. And obviously then there is a daily stress and finances and this, that, and the other. But the past is a big element of this impact on the nervous system for a lot of people. So if you just starting with havening, this is one thing I wanted to ask you, is not to go for the most traumatic event of your life at this point, because I would really prefer if you chose something still upsetting, but not so upsetting that you may have an reaction, you may be overwhelmed with what you're feeling. And also, I just wanted to remind you that if you're dealing with something really, really complex, a complex trauma, and there's a lot of content there, there's a lot of emotional baggage there, then this is probably best to be done with a practitioner. So let's, for this exercise, pick something that bothers you, a memory or event from your recent or maybe further past, but not something so major that you could be feeling a little bit overwhelmed and possibly lost. Okay, then when you know what you're doing and you're familiar with this technique, familiar with event havening and what you're doing, then by all means, I would say that a lot of your traumatic memories you'll be able to work through on your own without anybody's help. But again, if you feel uncertain or if there's more complexity, it's best to just work with somebody for a few sessions, and then you'll be okay to do this on your own. An example of what you could pick here would be, for example, argument with somebody, and you think back to that argument and it still makes you angry, or maybe a breakup and that's still painful, or maybe you got criticized by somebody, something like that, and you think back to that and it still hurts you. So just think for a moment, and if you need a little bit more time to figure it out, then I would say just pause the video for a moment, just figure out what it is that you're going to be working with for this particular session. And then when you're ready, come back again and let's continue. So activation of this feeling is important because, like I say, it's actually the feeling, not the memory itself, that stresses the nervous system. It's the associated emotional input and baggage that is really what stresses the nervous system. And also, in order to deal with the feeling, we need to be able to activate the feeling. However, what I want you to know, and I want you to allow yourself to bring that feeling up, because I'm not going to keep you in that negative feeling for any length of time. It's just literally going to be seconds. And then we're going to use different techniques to, one, distract, and two, to stimulate your brain and neurology in a variety of different ways. And sometimes you find that when you get to the end of it, you may find that you can't even remember the original memory, but more often you can remember the memory, but you're just not feeling anything when you think of it. And this is so typical that a client would come, they would bring a memory up, and they're starting to talk about an upsetting memory, and immediately they've got this outpouring of emotion. And yet, once we've done this exercise and we've done the event havening on it, they can then talk about that memory, and that memory is not bringing anything up. So really that's what we want. But sometimes you're not even able to recall that original memory, which is interesting. So another thing before we proceed is that some people will activate the feelings very easily and others will struggle. So why is that? Well, it is because when you go through a traumatic experience and it all becomes a little bit too much for your nervous system and your brain to handle, that detachment can be created, and then it's difficult to associate and feel anything, because the whole point of that detachment is not to feel, because it's too painful. However, we cannot stay dissociated forever if we want to deal with this negative event that happened. And long-term in particular, this emotional detachment is bad news, because we just stop feeling, and it can progress, and even sometimes physical ailments can completely be off our radar because we're not really tuned into the body. But definitely when it comes to dealing with emotions, we need to be able to activate them in order to be able to deal with them. And that's certainly how havening works. That's how other good methods work, EFT also. So you need to just give yourself permission to activate that feeling for a very short period of time. And then once we dealt with it, this will not bother you again. All right. So again, if you need to think about a stressful event or memory, and you need to you need a little bit more time to think about it, pause the video for a moment to do that. If you already know what you want to work on, then make sure that you are sitting comfortably. And, you know, if you have any back issues or anything like that, make sure that your back is supported so you can stay present. And then I will ask you, for most of it, you'll have your eyes closed. There will be periods of time where you want your eyes open. But we really want to tune in to what we're feeling internally, and that really is much easier when we close our eyes. And then, of course, I will then ask you to recall the upsetting memory. And in fact, let's do that now if you already know what you're going to be working on. And then tune into that memory or event. And one thing that I want you to make sure of is that you're looking at the scene with your own eyes. So you are in your body. So you are, in other words, associated to that memory. And then just notice what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're feeling. And then zoom in to the worst part of that memory. And just identify what you're feeling. Is it anger, sadness, fear? Is it something else? And where is that feeling in your body? Just locate that feeling in your body. Feel it in your body. Find it. What temperature is it? What texture? Is it rough, smooth, sharp, dull, light, heavy? What color is it? Pick the first thing that comes to your mind. And now just score it on the scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being not at all bothering you and 10 is the maximum. And so what you want is to be at least 7 or higher on that scale, okay? So if you are 7 or more, then you can start havening, applying the havening touch on it right now. Just remember, there's no set way of doing it, there's no set sequence, just apply the havening touch. If you can't feel it very strongly, then you may want to stop the video and then make sure that you find something that you can get up to 7 or more. You may want to, if you're having difficulties getting that feeling activated, just think about more details. What specifically was it that made you feel awful back then? And when you feel activated, like I say, just close your eyes and start applying the havening touch. Then the first thing I want you to do is to hum a tune out loud. It can be your favorite song or a nursery rhyme. So I'm just going to give you a few moments to do that. And now continue to haven and open your eyes, and then move your eyes sharply right and sharply left, like this, without moving your head. Continue to apply the havening touch. Close your eyes again. Close your eyes again, and now count backwards from 40 in fours, havening the whole time. Now just give you a moment to do that. Don't worry about getting it wrong. It's just to stimulate a different part of the brain. So do that now from 40 and 36, 32, and so on. Okay, great. And then continue, eyes closed still. and continue applying the havening touch. Now imagine yourself walking somewhere nice, somewhere safe, somewhere where you can really enjoy the surroundings, wherever that may be for you. Be in your own body, and then take 30 steps as you're walking along, really taking in the surroundings, and with each step, counting from 30 down to 0, with each step feeling more and more relaxed and calm. Start counting now. Okay, and then again, continue to haven, open your eyes. And again, this eye movement, right, left, sharply right, sharply left, sharply right, sharply left, without moving your head. Okay, and then just stop for a moment, relax, and then close your eyes and go back to that same memory as before. And I want you to do it in the exact same way as you did it the first time, just to make sure that you go and follow the same pathway. So see what you see, feel what you feel, hear what you hear. Make sure that you're in your body, looking at the scene with your own eyes, and zoom into the worst part of your memory. And then really connect with that feeling again briefly, so that we can assess what the feeling is doing right now. So again, rate that feeling on the scale of 0 to 10. And it should be lower. Some people will be completely gone. I'll give you a few moments to really tune in and try and access that feeling. So if you're not able to do it and the feeling is completely gone, that's wonderful. You can then progress onto something else and sort the next feeling out. If you feel that maybe you're still maybe around 3, 4, maybe 5, then we need to do another round of this. So let's do another round of havening. So close your eyes again and start applying a havening touch again. All right, so hum a tune whilst your eyes are closed and you're applying the havening touch. It can be the same tune, it can be a different tune. It's up to you. I'll give you a moment to complete that task. And now open your eyes, continue to haven. Let's do the same movement. Right, left, right, left, right, left. Okay, close your eyes again. Continue with the touch. And this time, imagine yourself walking down a flight of stairs, a long flight of stairs, 20 stairs, and I'm going to count you down, and with each step, as you imagine yourself walking down, being your own body, step down, and with each step you feel more and more relaxed and calm. So 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And again, continue to haven and hum another tune, either the same one or a different one. Now, whilst havening, count backwards from 60 in threes. So it's going to go 60, 57, 4, and so on. And that's great. Then just pause for a moment and again check in with that memory and the feeling. Again, access it the same way as before. And I want you to really, really try to access it the best that you can. And if you are still not at a 0 or a 1, sometimes 1 or 2 is acceptable depending on what people are working on. Sometimes particularly with grief, people just want to leave it at 1 or 2, and that's fine, whatever works for you. But 0, 1, 2, the level that you're really not that bothered by it anymore, and it doesn't activate your nervous system in the same way. If it's not at 0, 1, or 2 you're feeling, and you're still feeling activated, and you repeat this process again, then maybe you need to repeat it once more, or maybe a couple more times. And you will find that at some point, as I said before, the feeling is gone and you can't get it back. And you may still have the memory, but you won't have the feeling. And that is what most people will experience, because this method works. It works 100%. And the only other time that you might still feel activated, even though you've done a few rounds of this event havening, is when your feeling is actually linked to other memories or events in your mind to do with that same feeling usually. And there may be something like this going on for you if you're not bringing that feeling right down within 3-4 rounds of this. So what you can do is you can ask yourself, well, what are maybe other memories or events to do with that same feeling? And you could try to go after those and do this exact same process on those other ones. So that would be one way of dealing with it. maybe more complexity to it. Sometimes there is more complexity, and so this is absolutely fine. It is what it is. But if you picked unknowingly something that is turning out to be a little bit more complex and a little bit more tricky to deal with on your own, then again, just working with somebody will help you, and you will be able to resolve this that way.
All righty. So that is Advan Having. Now, I have found that after I do a couple of these sessions and I get it down to 0 or 1, like she's talking about, I go for a nice long walk. And I find that that kind of really helps bring everything into alignment and bring my body and my place of well-being back to that optimum. And so for other people, maybe it's, going for a jog, or maybe it's jumping on the trampoline. I have no idea, but in all my playing around, I have discovered that when I'm working with this kind of things, if I can move my body, I really help facilitate everything. And so we just gratitude happening. And so I want to talk a little bit about this, because if we're going to be practicing things to get rid of things to bring our physiological state back to an optimum state and improve our vagal tone in the whole process, then we want to have a technique where we can make ourselves look at events. So it's changing a mindset, changing words, while at the same time using the same technique to bring abundance and peace and calm and feeling like we got this to ourselves. So this is kind of twofold. So one, we want to remove, and then we want to bring to ourselves. So this is gratitude happening.
Welcome back. In this session, we're going to cover transpirational havening and also gratitude havening as well. So let's start with transpirational havening. Transpirational havening is a variety of havening techniques, and it really takes its name from this sort of metaphorical similarity of something that goes on with trees, and that is, in simple terms, that there is a process of transpiration by which water moves through a tree. When it's drawn up through the roots and it travels through the tissue of the tree, and then eventually when the trunk branches out and it reaches the leaves, water vapor diffuses into the atmosphere through those pores. And so what we're really trying to achieve in transpirational havening is that similar sort of effect of drawing up any unhelpful emotions and experiences, and we sort of want to draw them from the roots in the brain, and then we want to bring them to the surface and have them release, because emotion and just energy in motion. So we're trying to have that release, which so very often causes people a lot of not just emotional discomfort, but of course it overburdens the nervous system. So first of all, transpirational havening can be used in the moment when an emotion comes up and when we just want to let it transpire. So in this case, we're just connecting with what's coming up, and we're going to haven on that with the certain words that we're going to say, which I'll explain in a minute. But we can also use transpirational havening very well when we're trying to release stored, sort of accumulated emotions, when there is no obvious single event, just like when we were doing event havening and we were referring back to a specific memory or an event. In this case, what if there isn't a single event? What if the client person has experienced lot of mini traumas, but there isn't anything particular that stands out? So basically, we can help release that buildup, that accumulation that happened over a period of time, because that energy, when it's stored in the body, is really, really damaging. Another example of using transpirational havening would be where people have experienced many disturbing events across their history. So maybe many episodes of being bullied, or feeling rejected, or feeling embarrassed or put down, or something like that. And we can use transpirational havening to just mop up and release all of that. And also we can use transpirational havening at the end of the event havening sessions, just like we did in the last session, when you drop down on your scale of 0 to 10, you start obviously 7+, but then you drop down to maybe 3. At that point, we can either continue with event havening, or we can actually use transpirational havening and work specifically on that feeling that is still there. And if you like, you can also compare transpirational havening to like an imaginary mechanical crane that just goes into the brain and just plucks stuff out, any sort of unhelpful emotions, similar things like that, and then brings it up to the surface and then moves it away. And then when the crane returns, it goes back to pluck out maybe another unhelpful emotion or more of the same thing. And then we can just continue getting rid of unhelpful or negative things that are bothering us in this way. So what's the actual procedure for this? So first of all, we need to identify this emotion that we want to release. And again, like before, we're working with the mind and we're working with emotions. So when you first start learning these techniques, you don't go after that very thing that bothers you the most. You try this out on something maybe a little bit smaller and not as impactful, and then you move on as you train yourself in this, as you're becoming more familiarized with it. You can then move on to those heavier things that you may have going on and try and clear that. Or if indeed it's all.
So I just kind of want to add here. So I use, the transpirational that she's talking about. I use that. So sometimes maybe you're just doing your everyday thing, but then you check in and you realize you're kind of feeling down in the dumps, or you're feeling stressed, or you're feeling hurried, or you're starting to question yourself, or you're feeling doubts. And so what she's going to show, I use it like that. So then it takes you right out of that spot and gives you back, like for me, it gives me back my blank slate. So then I'm not caught up with any baggage. I don't have to figure out really why the shit's there. I can just get it out of the way so I can carry on and do what I was trying to do, or what I wanted to do. And it's not that sometimes you don't figure it out, but sometimes it's just not the place or the time to be taking that time to figure it out. So this is a way just to remove it, to get that garbage from the inside out, so it's no longer causing an effect.
Very complex and overwhelming, like I say, always just get a few sessions with somebody and have that support when you need it. Because if you have a lot of emotional layers And this work can be sometimes overwhelming because we can get so-called abreactions where stuff just starts pouring out. I will say that that's never a bad thing. Don't be scared of it, even though it may feel like it is overwhelming and you're not quite sure what to do with it in the moment. If that ever happens, when you're doing havening, just continue to haven, and it will go away and you will feel much better for it when you're on the other side of it. But if you're a little bit wary of reactions, which I personally love and I think they're amazing because we know things are shifting, then again, I encourage you to do this work with somebody else to have that support. So when we connecting with this feeling that we want to get rid of, and then we will want to identify it. If you're actually not sure what it is, or sometimes people just draw a blank actually and they really can't name it, then you can just haven on blank. That's okay, and then eventually as you're doing it more, it will probably come to you what it is. But if you know what it is, you want to obviously identify it in your body. Again, like previously, you want to connect with temperature, texture, color, anything you can. What is this feeling doing? What is its purpose in your body, and where exactly it sits? And it needs to be in the body, not in the mind. If you think your feeling is up here, it isn't. That's your head telling you this. So you need to really drop into the body and really connect with it in the body. And sometimes what may help you is to recall actually the last situation when you felt that feeling, or even better, the worst ever time you ever felt that feeling. And hopefully that will help you connect. So take an example, somebody identifies feeling stressed. They want to get rid of the feeling of stressed. And so what we're going to do is they identify, they connect with it, they score it. Maybe it's, again, 8 out of 10. We want it to be at least 7. We want it to be high. The higher it is, the more impactful this technique is, of course, and the more you're going to feel the difference. And so we really want to activate it. That's very important. So when we've activated it, and say it is 7 or 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, we then start to apply the havening touch, and we're going to repeat words that are basically, I'm feeling, in this case, stressed. You don't have to repeat necessarily I'm feeling over and over, but you want to repeat the word stressed over and over. And it's important that you're not just saying stress, you're actually saying I'm feeling stressed. So you're actually connecting with that feeling and you're owning that feeling. So you don't have to say this first part, as I said, but you are starting to haven and you're just saying this over and over. Stressed, stressed out, or whatever is associated with it, really stressed, upset, stressed, and you just continue to connect and continue to verbalize it. The mouth is like the leaf of the tree. That's where it all comes out. And then, of course, you havening on it the whole time. So the whole time you're saying the words. Let's say you feel angry. So you don't just say, this is important, word anger. You say angry. I'm feeling angry. And there may be some associated things, whether it's so upset, resentful, whatever it is. So that's okay. You can say those associated words as well, but just focus on that feeling. And then what you find is you're going to continue for however long is necessary for you. You're going to find that as you continue to haven and you continue to verbalize what it is that you're feeling, that you will lose the intensity of it. It will not feel, you will get to a point where it will not feel like it has any energy anymore. it's going to start feeling forced to even say it. So you may start with being really, really upset or stressed or angry about something, and you feel it bubbling at the beginning. But you will get to the point where you will start saying angry, angry, angry. You see, there's no energy there. So you may also find, and that's often the case, that that feeling will morph into some other feeling. So for example, you may start feeling angry, 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 then it will go to angry, angry, angry. And then eventually you will actually start recognizing that underneath that anger is, for example, sadness. And that's not uncommon. So then you allowing that feeling of sadness to transpire. And then when you emptied all those pockets of those particular emotions, and it may go from one to the other, from one to the other, or it may just be one, then you will start feeling at some point just calm and relaxed. And as you're releasing the emotions before you get into calm and relax, or peaceful, or whatever it may be, if you feel that you could be releasing better and you're not quite releasing as much as you want, you can actually support this process with visualization. So you can visualize the water traveling through the tree and the vapor releasing through the leaves, something like that. Or another visualization could be revving an accelerator of a motorbike and the emotions just going out the exhaust pipe, or letting go of balloons with emotions attached. So whatever works for you, and as usual, your mind will come up with the exact right metaphor for it. So by all means, you can borrow one of the ones that I've just mentioned, but if your mind comes up with something of its own, then I suggest that you go with that. And if you have a situation where that emotion is just not clearing, you've been at it for a long time and it's stuck maybe around 3 or around 4, something like that, and you get that stuckness, then it may actually be necessary to switch to event havening, or perhaps again, there could be some other complexity, things sort of in the mind often attach themselves to other things. And there may be other therapeutic work required, but a lot of the time people will be successful sort of doing this work of bringing that energy to the surface and releasing that that negative emotional energy. So it's definitely worth a try. I'm just saying that on occasions it may not quite go as low down as you wanted to, and that just means that maybe there's some self-worth work to be done, or some forgiveness work, or there's some other events, memories, something like that. There could be all sorts of other things going on, or even belief issues. And so we just want to have that, bear that in mind, and just have the right expectations, realistic expectations of it. But most people will have a really pleasant experience with this, and they will find this extremely helpful, and that release will do a lot for them and a lot for the nervous system. So I just really encourage you to give this a try. Give it a try and really trust the process. But remember, this sort of work takes energy. It's actually energy demanding. So you often find that immediately afterwards you will feel quite tired. But obviously, this is going to be just short-lived, and in the long term, this is going to be exactly what you need, what your nervous system needs. So if you want, you may now want to pause this video and just decide on a feeling that you want to be dealing with, want to be getting rid of. Already connect with it. Again, identify where it is in your body, and try and activate it, and then apply the havening touch with the words associated that describe that feeling best, but preceded with words I'm feeling, whatever it is that you're feeling. And just spend a few minutes doing that and just see where you get to. And then when you restart the video, we will continue. As you're doing this work, another useful visualization that I wanted you to quickly try is to just quickly close your eyes and just apply the havening touch. And as you havening, just draining your brain, you feel like you're draining your brain of this negative emotion. And you are standing in a wide bathtub, and just see that in your eyes, mind, and be in your own body, and just feel that emotional toxicity draining out of your brain and into the bathtub. Now I want you to look down and see the dirty water, and then see that dirty water swirling and disappearing down the drain. And just keep looking at it. Keep looking at it, keep draining it until the water runs clear, and then you know that you've got rid of all this emotional toxicity and you got it out of your brain. So when we get to the point where the water runs clear and we're feeling more calm, more relaxed, more peaceful, as this process usually leads to feeling that, then to end with, we can do two things. One thing is we can do some positive affirmations to follow, to just close that piece of work. And this affirmational havening is what I shared already on a number of occasions and during the summit. And it's simply havening and saying positively stated affirmations, such as I'm feeling calm, I'm relaxed, I'm choosing to trust my body in the process of healing, or whatever. There's loads of different things that you can come up with, and you can do specific work on self-worth, beliefs, whatever you want, and motivational stuff as well. There's another way that we can also finish the session of transpirational havening, and that's gratitude havening. Okay, and so I want to do this gratitude havening right now with you. So I encourage you to now close your eyes and start applying havening touch, and let's do this gratitude havening together. So as you sitting there with your eyes closed and havening, just allow your subconscious mind to connect with the idea of gratitude. And just imagine if gratitude were a neon sign, what color would that be? If gratitude were a vibration or a quality, what do you imagine it might look like? Bright, bold, or maybe soft and pastel? And if gratitude were effortless, what would be your focus? Could your subconscious mind lead you to the place inside your body where gratitude is most noticeable for you? And if this can shine out from you to all the people you'd like to shower with gratitude, who would you send it to? Who would you shine this light, this vibration on? Just for a moment, just imagine, is there a word that you'd like to choose so every time you heard it or said it, your subconscious would be reminded of gratitude? Maybe it's the word gratitude all by itself, or maybe it's something else. And just invite you to let this gratitude grow inside of you, and more with each breath, and stronger and more powerful each day. And now onto the gratitude havening. So here's the things that we can be grateful for, and I'm sure you can come up with many of your own. But I'll just give you some ideas and you can repeat them out loud after me as you're havening. I am grateful for having a roof over my head. I am grateful for having access to food and water. I am grateful for my body's wisdom. I am grateful for all the good people in my life, past, present, and future. I am grateful that I am able enough physically and mentally to take part in this exercise. I am grateful that my body takes care of my heart beating and other vital processes without me even having to think about it. I am grateful for access to great health information online. I am grateful for having choices. I am grateful for being in charge of my mind, and I choose calm and positivity. I am grateful for being open-minded enough to be here, assimilating new information and gaining new skills. I'm grateful for life lessons. I just give you a few more moments just so you can think about what you are grateful for, what else you're grateful for. And now slowly you can begin to bring your awareness back to the room you're in and the sounds around you. And slowly begin to become aware of your outer environment, allowing your state of being to move with you throughout your day. Now gently bring some movements into your body now. Invite gentle movement into your fingers and your toes. And when you feel complete, you can end your session and open your eyes. And I invite you to take this feeling that you've got with you right now into the rest of your day.
All righty. So any thoughts on those two techniques?
It's very cool. I think it's going to take a while to like just going through the practice while she was going through it. Personally, I think I need to, I don't know the right words to use, but get my mind more set into it.
Yep.
So I think it's I mean, practicing, right, will help. So because your mind
Absolutely.
has to be in the right spot. So get the focus in and get the rest of the crap out. And then I think it would work, because it was starting, like I could, when I first started, I could feel the difference.
Yep.
But then other things started going on in my head, right? And then it takes you out of the moment. So
Yes.
that's not helping me at this stage. So I need to get rid of, like, be somewhere and there's no distractions and I can just focus on this and then go through it. I think I would have a way different outcome after going through the process.
Yes. You might find that if you set this up on a chair
Mm-hmm.
while you were in your bathtub with the door closed, with your
Yep.
candles, with your bubbles, with everything.
That's a good idea. Yep.
Because
Because I'm in a
then
different spot then. So I'm
absolutely,
in there for the purpose of, for a whole different purpose than sitting in front of my computer, right?
absolutely. Yes. Yes. And so I look forward to seeing and hearing from you in regards to like how that kind of works out.
Okay, I'm gonna try it.
Okay.
Can I
Okay.
take some wine with me? Oh, that doesn't
Yeah.
work though, does it? That interrupts my electrical part. So I can't take wine with me. I can take a glass of water though.
Yes, you could save the wine. You could save the wine for after.
Oh, that would be perfect. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
See, I have
Yeah.
to get everything in order so it works properly, right? I do the
Yeah.
positive, but then I have too many negatives I want to add into it. It's not helping me.
Yeah. 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 So no. So yeah, I look forward to that. So now I've used the transpirational lots because sometimes I might just be driving my car and then suddenly a wave of emotion comes over me and it's strong. And then I don't want to have that in my body because I know the effect that it is. So while I recognize that it's there and I pay attention to it, I want to move it along. And so it really helps me because even if I have to pull over to the side of the road, it doesn't take me long and I'm back feeling really great. So I'm not letting all of this stuff drag me down a pipe to where it affects how the outcome of my whole day or my outlook. And so that's why I'm sharing them because I use them an awful lot and they help me probably they're right up there among the top things that where I can bank on this doing something for me. And on that note, we're moving forward to the next batch of things. We're going to finish up today, and so the next thing we get to talk about is hyperbaric oxygen therapy. This is one of my favorite topics. There is a gazillion links that I've put in your resources in your handout to go with all of this. And so hyperbaric oxygen therapy is so amazing because the pressure is what forces the oxygen molecules into every cell in your body. So no matter how stressed you are, how restricted you are, how poor your lymphatics are working, how poor your thyroid is working, or any of those things, the pressure circumvents the requirement for your body to be involved. And so once those oxygen molecules get into all these starved out places, it starts opening them up and they start releasing and everything starts shifting and changing. And on top of all of that, 12.5 pounds pressure is the magic number for when you want to rebuild your circulatory system or rebuild neural networks. And so hyperbaric oxygen therapy is what gave me the ability to improve enough that I could actually be sitting here and actually sharing with you everything that I've learned through this whole journey. So without that, I would not have had the speech. I would not have had the ability to do what I'm doing at all. So any medical doctor that you go to pretty much is going to negate this, laugh at it, boo-hoo it. And all I can say is they are absolute fools, absolute fools. So in the countries where the doctors there have some knowledge, so the UK and Israel, these therapies are offered free because when people can get hyperbaric oxygen therapy, illnesses decrease, quality of life increases, so the cost on their medical system sinks into the toilet. And so this just isn't a gimmick. This is real. It's been around for over 70 years. It is well tested, well known. Yeah, it's just really hard to find somewhere to go to get the sessions, where in some cases it becomes affordable. So a lot of the places that you go to are $300 a session. And in order to have any lasting effects, you need, 40 to 60 sessions. So when I was able to find where I go on the island and be able to buy, back then I could buy my 10 sessions for $80 a session, so $800, and work my way through my treatment. And so if you are dealing with anxiety, PTSD, chronic self-doubts, depression, all sorts of autoimmune conditions, memory problems, confusion problems, this should be a go-to, a place where you just magically become the person that you used to be, full of all that life and full of all that vitality, because it's managed to get through the restrictions that have been caused from years and years of physiological response that has created so much restriction that you feel like you're stuck with these conditions, and that's just not the case. And so, yeah, I can't say enough. And in my journey, I have seen some pretty amazing things. And one of the most amazing things that I just want to share was I met these two little old ladies. They were in a nursing home and they were brought in with a full care attendant. They were in wheelchairs. And so they were wheeled into the chambers. And so, of course, I don't get to see them again because I was going every 3 months. So then I go home, and then so 3 months later I come and I get to see them again. Now they're using canes. And 3 months later, when I came the next time, they were walking on their own and there was no care attendant. And the next time I came, they were all super excited because they had just rented an apartment and were living independent and were no longer needing the care home. And so if that doesn't just make you take a step back and go like, holy fuck, I don't know. But this is a therapy that's out there. It's available. You really ought to be checking into it. Next. All right, not too fast. Okay. All right, so in my journey, we have to talk about Beosa probiotics, because that is a pretty amazing product in itself. So on my YouTube channel, we have Meet the Beosa Brews. So we're just going to quickly watch that here, and then I'm going to talk about the whys. So Beosa Incorporated has 6 brews. And so I'll talk about the ones for human first. So we have Vita Beosa, and then we have Chaga, and then we have Milk Thistle, and we have Honey Tea. So those are all kind of brewed typically for humans. Now, that product line is also used for your pets or your aquarium, but that would mainly be Vita Beosa. And so then we step over to a huge horse industry, and of course I'm a big horse fan. So now we have Equina Beosa. Well, when you think about the changes that we've made from the wild horse to the domesticated horse, we've pretty much removed them from being able to access beneficial bacteria on an ordinary, everyday state. I just look at Equina Beosa as a way for you to give your horse everything that he actually requires so that he can have the life that he's supposed to have. And then now to address every other thing in the environment that I could possibly want to address is Terra Beosa. So that means raising livestock the cleaning sanitation in barns and all of that, your crops, your berry production, growing gardens, greenhouses, inside your house, anything that you can think of, that's where TerraBiosa can be used. So pretty much anything within your environment that you need to address is right there with the 6 separate brews. Last but not least, we have 2 products from Inotech Nutrition. So the fermented probiotic is actually VitaBiosa. It's just under a different label. And then we have Kids and Us, which is brewed exclusively in Inotech Nutrition itself. So thank you so much for watching. If you're thirsty for more knowledge. All right. So the reason VitaBiosa, the reason for probiotics. So when we're stressed or we're having the physiological responses, and as we learn, that results in poor vagal tone. And so one of the symptoms of poor vagal tone are digestive upsets. Well, that comes apart, like it happens because when we're stressed, that stress actually affects our gut microbes. And so the longer we're stressed, the greater the effect on those microbes. And so all of this stuff is kind of hand in hand and hand in hand. So it's not a process, oh, well, if I fix this, I'm good. It's about continually peeling back the layers of that onion and addressing all of these things that have went wrong, because unknowingly we've been in this physiological response and for most of us, for most of our lives. And so we have to slowly start undoing all of this. And so Biosa is the answer because it's triple fermented, and that, 37 days in the vat gives time for all of those microbes to learn about each other and learn how to work together. So when you take VitaBiosa versus all of the other probiotics that are out there on the market, you're actually getting way more bang for your buck because those microbes are ready to go to work. They're not going to be disturbed by your gut acid. They're not going to pass through your entire system without doing their job. They're going to go to work from the very first sip until they work their way right out your anus. They're working for you. And you don't get that in any of the other probiotic strains. So when you take a pill or a capsule, what that pill or capsule is reliant on is that pill or capsule will not open up in your stomach, because if it does, your stomach acid will kill everything inside that pill. So in order to do that, they put a PVC liner inside that vegetable capsule. And so now when it hits your small intestine, it's supposed to open up. And so let's just say it does. That part's working perfectly and it opens up. Well, all of those microbes don't recognize each other. They don't have a language. They have nothing. So all they're going to do is eat the first thing that they can get their hands on, which is each other. So there's a whole whack of cannibalism coming on. And it's every man for himself. Survival at its fittest. Destroy anything beside you. So there's no cooperation. So the health benefits that you're going to get are greatly minimized because there is no team working for you or helping you along this process. And so in a nutshell, that's why the fermented probiotics are the best. And because Biosa is triple fermented, you get 3 different classifications in that line. And that again makes it even better for you. So that's my little blurb on Biosa probiotics. All righty. So now the next thing that I want to talk about is nitric oxide. Now, nitric oxide is so amazing. It has won the Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, it is an amazing product, but once again, it's not something you're going to find out from your doctor. So our bodies produce nitric oxide, And why is that important? Well, when we're younger, we produce quite a bit of it. And it means that our arteries and veins and capillaries stay really elastic and smooth and healthy. And that means we're getting the best blood flow everywhere. Well, stuff starts to happen. And when we're under stress, and we've learned so much now about constriction, our fascia tightens, that affects the lymphatics. Well, that's going to affect our circulation. It's going to put pressure against all of these things. And then to top it off, as we age, we don't produce as much of it, women in particular. And so then we start getting arteries that are stiffer. Oh, now when that happens, all sorts of things start happening to the endothelium that line the inside of our arteries and capillaries and whatnot. And so when those endotheliums aren't happy, they start to curl up. So that now not smooth. So then our body goes, oh, hold it here. So they try putting plaque over it to smooth it out. And so then eventually another edge breaks loose. So more plaque is laid down. Well, that plaque is never smooth. So then it's rough. So our body is continually laying down plaque. So then we end up with blocked arteries. We end up with plaque buildup. And we're taught that it's because of our cholesterol. Well, that's just a pack of shit. That is the biggest lie we've ever been told. This happening because our body does not have enough nitric oxide. Those endothelium cells are curling up. It's creating a ledge. Our body's trying to smooth it out. It's laying down plaque, which it makes from our cholesterol. And so then it can't make the plaque totally smooth. So it's always got lumps. So it's continually catching more globules continually. And so that's the cycle. So yes, if we try to eliminate all of our cholesterol, we have nothing to patch up these things. But that's really not what's not causing the problem. The problem is because we do not have enough nitric oxide. So I cannot stress this enough. And so when you have stress, anxiety, PTSD, PTSS, and our vessels and everything are constricted, we are decreasing our vessels to the access of the nitric oxide. So now we get to see how this is like a gateway, and it's just like the domino thing here again. Now, if we don't want to buy nitric oxide, we can grow a shitload of beets. And as long as we eat the equivalent of 8 beets a day or the juice of 8 beets a day, we're going to get the same benefits as dissolving 1 lozenge in our mouth every morning. Now, the thing I really like about nitric oxide, that Neo40 has put out, you can order test strips from them. So you don't need to be taking something wondering if you need it or wondering if it's working, because you can order the test strips. And so you get up first thing in the morning before you do anything, you put a little bit of spit on the strip, and the color tells you whether or not you're deficient and how deficient. So then you start taking your lozenge a day or 2 till you get up to optimum. And then you see if you can back off to even less and play around. And so the strips allow you to do that. So I love that. I love it when you're in the driver's seat and have some say and some control. And so, of course, as with everything, I don't want you just to take my word on this. I want you to do your own research. I want you to look different things up. And so, the Nobel Prize for nitric oxide, I'm not bullshitting you on this. It's won it a few times, I think 5 different times. And so you can read all about it in 1998, 1996. Here we just keep going. So this is real. This is not a Mona made up thing. This is real.
That's really interesting.
Yes.
I had no idea.
Most people do not, but you will notice the difference.
That's very cool.
Yes. And so on this page, are the links where you can go to get the indicator strips, the products, and then I've linked you directly to their science, their pages. So I put this slide, these same things are in your resources, but it's important enough. I made a slide just with them on there because I wanted to make sure that you could pause the slide, copy and paste, so you didn't have to search around. It's right there. But really, really, really important stuff. And so when you're taking the nitric oxide, same as if you're going to drink your beet juice or whatever, first thing when you get up is important. And then you don't do it for the rest of the day. It's first thing in the morning. And the first thing in the morning, I'm going to tell you a couple of things. So most people have cardiovascular events early in the morning. And this is why they're dehydrated and their nitric oxides levels are at the lowest. So that's why you want to take water to bed. And even if it means you have to get up 3 or 4 times to go pee, you need to be thinking about the fact that otherwise you're 8 hours giving off moisture and not taking any moisture in. So therefore, your blood is at its thickest. The thicker your blood, the harder it is for your body, your heart, to pump it through. The more restriction you have because of stress or events like that, even harder for your heart to pump through all of those restrictions. Because there's no activity all night long, and nitric oxide requires physical activity for it to become metabolized and used and created in our body, it's also at its lowest. So everything about our cardiovascular system is at its weakest component in the very early hours of the morning. So when we first wake up, the first thing we want to be able to do is drink that full 8 ounces of water before we do anything. Test our nitric oxide levels, and from there determine whether or not we need a lozenge or not, or to drink the beet juice or whatever. And that's why it's a morning thing.
I do cayenne pepper every morning and every night.
Yes. The cayenne pepper is to open your circulatory pathways.
Yeah, but it will also stop a bleed if you have one. Pretty neat. So I need to change my routine is what you're telling me.
I'm not saying you need to change your routine. I'm saying you need to
Check it out.
check your levels. You need,
Yeah,
before
check
you
it out.
determine whether this is you, check your levels, see where your nitric oxide levels are,
Okay.
and go according to that. And now your requirements will change. So when I don't manage to keep my PTSD at bay, my requirement for nitric oxide goes way up, because you think about the physiological responses going on in my body and how much constriction is there and how much it's limiting blood flow,
Great.
right?
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
And so we need to kind of play with this. And that's why I love the test strips, because they really tell you.
Simplify, don't they? They simplify.
Yes. Because, we're told to buy into all this crap, but we have no way of knowing.
Yep.
Well, this way, you know.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Smart
Yeah.
idea. Really smart idea.
Yes. And when
Because
my
most of the time you're just winging it, right?
absolutely. I can actually stop a PTSD episode if I get to the nitric oxide before it's totally full blown. Once it's full blown, I'm just hanging on for dear life and waiting for it to end. But if I
Yeah.
can catch it before I'm Gilligan hanging onto that fucking tree, I can stop it.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So then, holosync brainwaves. Now we touched on this in part 1, but we're back here again. I have so much of their technology.
Mona, I have a question.
Yeah.
Does that anyway correspond with your horse?
The holosync brainwaves,
No, the,
nitric oxide.
yeah, what you were just talking about.
Absolutely.
That's interesting.
And where the biggest correlation comes is because the better our heart is, the better our heart is able to do its job in a non-compromised manner, the
Mhm.
stronger our heart energetic resonance is.
Yep.
So the stronger we are there, the better we are to influence their heart center, which then can influence their emotional well-being.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
why it's really important to keep us in the best place possible, not only in our heads, but in our bodies.
Okay.
And that brings me back to the holosync. So sometimes I'm pretty shitty at doing a meditation because I keep my mind on task. You know,
Mhm.
it's all over the place. And so then I'm sitting there trying to do this thing, but well, it's zooming down the eye state doing I don't know what, but
No.
certainly not
I was
watching the
trying to get
leaves.
my brain off too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I relate to that.
And so the holosync technology, I can plug in one of their things, and you can get them for all sorts of things. So like I have them for unlocking abundance. I have them for improving brain function. I have them for eliminating triggers. I have like anything you could possibly think of that you might want to put a check mark against and kick in the ass and get it out of your life. They have the technology for that. And so then it becomes as simple as listening to it in stereo headphones. Most of the time, most of the stuff puts me to sleep.
Mhm.
And then I wake up and I feel totally refreshed. Anything that was there before I sat down for the 15 or 20 minutes to listen to this is gone. And I can change it up. You know, I can do the abundance thing. And then I can, you know, do the unlock a trigger or explore that. Or I can do the longevity one, which really focuses on getting your DNA speaking to itself again. So you're regenerating and doing things how you should be doing rather than having all that restriction, creating those blocks. And then that becomes your story.
So it regulates you more for.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And once that starts happening, so like if I listen to one of these tapes, I could easily do my own meditation because it's brought me back to a place where I'm able to manage myself.
Mhm.
And so I just love it for that because I could listen to it while I was cooking my supper. I can't do it when I'm driving, of course, or anything like that, but cooking or I'm, you know, sitting there trying to get something ready. I'm putting stuff away in a drawer or, you know, I'm counting the tags or I'm writing down in, you know, my book. So like when you're writing in your book with your calves and your tags and all that crap,
Yeah.
you could be listening to some of this stuff. Some of it will improve your focus. Some of it will improve your concentration. Some of it will help your memory. You get to pick and choose. The technology is all there.
Yeah.
And so then you just start bringing it into your life and adding it little bits here and there. And so if you're nervous, let's say about getting on your horse because something happened, let's just say, or you're nervous about trying something, well, they have the technology that you can listen to that's for bringing yourself back to a grounded state. And
Mhm.
so you can listen to it before you go do those activities. So you're already starting off in a state that's balanced and congruent, and your horse is going to respond way more positively to, rather than approaching it a different way. And then your horse doesn't respond as positively because it doesn't get the same grounding effect and energy from you.
Yep.
And so, yeah, very powerful stuff.
Now, Josh talks a lot about that, but I think too with practice and repetition, because the way he describes it, sometimes it's really challenging because some people just seem to have a better way where this is kind of helpful because it talks you through it till you become more familiar, which is kind of helpful.
And lots of times there's no talk on here. Lots of times it's just music. It just puts you into the brainwave pattern where you need to be
Yeah,
to get where you need to go.
I just find meditation hard.
Yeah. And so you
It
might
is a-
really find this like to be the ticket, because
Yeah.
it will get you there. And then once you start feeling what it feels like to be there,
Mhm.
then it becomes easier, because now it's just
You're
like
sinking.
Eva
You're-
was, yeah. So now you can recall feeling.
Yep.
And so in order for that feeling to continue to exist, your brain patterns have to start to match it.
Mhm.
So then you're able to manifest it on your own. And so that's what I love about this, because it just makes it simple and it makes it easy. And
Yeah.
anyone can do it. Because when somebody's trying to teach you a meditation, part of that meditation is about the feeling that meditation is supposed to bring about. But if you have monkey mind and it's going all over the place,
Don't
Well-
get fuck all done.
you never get to feel that feeling.
I've already
Oh,
solved
this is-
25 problems outside. Fence half the
Yeah.
property.
Absolutely. And so it becomes a lesson in frustration because you can't get where everybody else already is.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that's what I love about this.
Hmm.
It's just like, oh,
Hmm.
okay, I can take myself out of the picture. This can do it for me. And now that I know how it feels, I can engage that part.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And
That's helpful.
again, there's tons of studies out there. And Holosync is the company that I deal with because I found their stuff to be the most powerful.
Mhm.
And I don't like wasting my time. So I'm like, give me something that works and I got to know it right away. 'Cause-
Exactly. I don't have time to waste, right? Want to
No.
do it, get it done and move on.
yes. And so now mind aerobics work on the same kind of idea, but I have not found anything in the Holosync technology that helps me really, I can feel this making both halves of my brain work together. So if I'm stuck on a problem, that usually means I'm only using one side of my brain. And this puts both sides together, and then voila, I have a solution. So I use mind aerobics when I'm stuck, like really stuck. I just kind of don't know which way to turn. And so that's kind of why mind aerobics is here. And they actually have many awards given to them because they have taken people on fairly severe cognitive decline and turned that around for them. So the technology is similar, but not the same, a little bit different. But yeah, totally very powerful in its own thing. So it's well worth checking out. And as with everything, you have to be able to try stuff out and, take it on for size and all of that. And I don't know why, but something's just popping into my head that's now we've missed it, but it's about nitric oxide. So nitric oxide gets depleted because lack of exercise, taking antacids or proton pump inhibitors. And so any destruction of good bacteria, mouthwashes, antibiotics, hand washes, hand sanitizers, and all of those things all deplete nitric oxide. So you can well imagine the last couple of years with COVID has wiped most people out.
Yeah.
So I don't know why that came to me now, but anyhow, it was there.
No, good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. And so the other thing I want to talk about is Bowen therapy. So Bowen therapy has a modality called vagus nerve reset. So far, I have only found 2 practitioners that are trained in that. So if you're going to look for a Bowen therapist, you want to ensure they are trained in the vagus nerve reset, because that is an individual component. They don't go to get training for anything else. That's individual. So that vagus nerve reset, why that is so amazing is because it resets your vagus nerve back to a completely relaxed and open state. So when I had my first session, you go and you have one session and it's about 35 or 40 minutes. And then a week later, you go for your second session. It's 2 parts. I could barely drive home after my first session. I went to bed and I probably slept for over 16 hours. And so that tells you how much repair my body was doing, because when your vagal tone is shot, everything's going to hell in a handbasket in your body, like we've been learning. And yeah, and my first time I had it done, I did the 2 sessions. I was free from PTSD for 3 months. And that was like, holy smoly. And then it all came back. So I had to take the therapy again. But eventually I managed to work my way up where I could get my 2 sessions once a year. And that just totally kept me in this most beautiful place. And so, yeah, so well worth in whatever area you live in, looking up. So I know of the 2, Melanie Walker, she's in Chemainus on Vancouver Island, and Lisa Marie Highland, she's in Prince George. So those are the 2 that I'm aware of, but I don't live everywhere. You guys live all sorts of places. And so you can start checking in. And so astonishing the things that you can find. And I actually found this as one of my first things, because when that stupid doctor told me that, oh yeah, this is just your life now, when I had PTSD, I could not believe that that was the answer I got, that I'm just supposed to be happy, living my life like Gilligan hanging onto a tree. Like this just kind of was not what I had envisioned. And so I embarked on this journey and went down 1,000,000 rabbit holes. And so all of the stuff that I've shown you today works, and everybody that I've sent there is totally amazed at the outcome. Yeah, very, very, very powerful stuff. And it makes you realize that you don't want to go to your doctor for help because they're just a waste of skin.
Just give me a joke, right?
No, I mean, all the things they've done that's almost killed me, and then everything that I've learned that's been a benefit, I've had to find it on my own with no help from any of them. And so it really, sometimes I wish I could garner up some respect, but ultimately I just don't have it in me, because I haven't found somebody step up to the plate and do what it is they should be doing. And that's helping us. And not by giving us a pharmaceutical, because that's going to treat some symptom. But let's figure out why it's there in the first place.
There's no money in cure.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
so true. If we were healthy, they wouldn't have anything to do. Or no, they
No.
wouldn't be as rich if we were all healthy. There we go. That's probably, greed
Gotta
is
keep us
probably
sick
more
so
of a,
they keep making the money.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's simple cures for everything. They just don't tell you. They just keep you sick.
And so we're going to end this session with a bunch of photographs. And so these are here because everything to do with these photographs has a fear component. And so I am going to blow up Gemini. And so you see the tension in here because you can see my little hand moving around, right?
Mhm,
You can see the lines here. You can
mhm,
see the tight lip. You can see how tight this lip is.
mhm.
You can see the worry wrinkle and the deep impression there.
Mhm.
You can see the tightness under here, so tight, and it's been tight because I'm at a clinic that it's, hand just disappeared, now making little lines. You can see all of the veins sticking out in his ears. You can see how tightly they're pulled forward. And so while he's standing like a good boy, the reins are loose. I want to ensure that you never mistake what he is expressing and what he is saying. You can actually see here that his jaw is clenched. His teeth are tight. When we miss all of these symptoms, we ask for more than what we should be asking for. And then we have a problem because we've went beyond their threshold and then they react instead of being responsive. Because he is so stressed here, and this was a 3-day clinic, I want to point out this area in here. And I'm pointing this area out in here because when a horse starts to have a metabolic condition, this is the first place that it shows. So there's tension here and it starts to raise up. So it's no longer a straight line that just runs straight down to the neck. This starts to puff up and you can start to see it in here as well as here. So as we've been learning, when you keep your horse stressed or we keep ourselves stressed, vagal tone starts to become impacted. That starts to impact thyroid function. When that impacts thyroid function, that starts to impact sugar regulation. And now all of these things are also impacting the gut microbes. And I'm pointing these out because we take our horses to do things and we forget about what they are expressing. But a lot of things are being expressed here. And so horses don't just founder. A lot of shit was happening before that event occurs. If we get really clued in, we get to see all the visual clues way before we actually have a foundering horse. And we can alert ourselves and we can go, okay, I need to take some corrective measures here. There's things that we can do. Now, don't know how to- Next question, picture. I want to point out my fear posture. I'm trying to reach my hand forward. I'm trying to give him rein, but I can't. You look at how I'm arched, I'm rolled forward. You can almost feel me holding my breath. And so, because he has high self-preservation issues, all of my shit, get back there, is adding huge amounts of stress to this. So when I go back here, I have to say to myself that at least 50 or 60% of his response is because of me, not just because I took him to a new place and new experiences and new whatever. He had to deal with all my stuff too. And so while we want to deny that we have stuff, it's there. They feel it, they sense it, it becomes part of their energetic resonance. And so that's why it's so important to me for teaching what I teach, because I want us to understand how valuable we are to this equation. It's not about having a good horse. It's about becoming the human for that horse. And when we do that, we have a superb horse. So I wasn't doing my horse any favors with this amount of fear in my body. I should have just got off and let him. But then I didn't want everybody to make fun of me.
Who cares?
Yeah, that's where I'm at now, but I'm telling you about where I was,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's hard, hey?
Very hard.
Hmm.
And so really big ticket items. So, and I want to make sure everybody understands I've been as far down that fear thing as you can probably go. And I know how hard it is to come back up over and get it where it's not part of your life anymore. Not an easy journey. And it takes a lot of love and acceptance and patience with yourself. So in this photograph, I wanted to show that as I go here and I bring this to here, I want you to again see the concentration. I want you to see the stiffness in my arm. I want you to recognize all of these things. I want you to see me hanging on for dear life, right? Because that's what we do when we're afraid, but we don't want to admit it. Or we know we're afraid and we're trying to find some solution for it. But if then I was where I was at now, I would have been so much kinder to myself. It wouldn't have been about sucking it up and getting through this. It would have been about loving myself and accepting myself where I was and working with where I was at. And recognizing how much he paid the price. So when I start to relax, I'm pointing this out. I'll have to do it in two different ways, but I'm pointing this out because as soon as I start to relax, you notice how much his head came down.
Mhm.
It's instantaneous. You notice how these wrinkles disappeared here. You notice how this tightness disappeared here.
Cheek.
You know, it's huge. Now I gotta figure out, I gotta go back so that I can blow me up. And so the change in the tightness in my hand changed. The tightness here changed. What was going on up here changed. And while I still have that horrible fear posture, I'm still hanging on. I released enough tension that he dropped his head. And I really want to point this out because it really is about us. And now here, now in this picture, who went into full-blown fear stuff here? Look at her, look at me, full-blown fear. Look at that. That could not be a worse expression in my body. And look at him. Had I managed not to do what I'm doing, he would not have been here. Because of this, I taught him that these flames were something to be concerned about. I relax a little bit, but not very much. He's at least being a good boy and going over the stuff. Okay. Now here we are. Look at me. I'm breathing a little bit easier. Everything about me has changed. I'm not quite so worried. I don't have quite the same fear posture. His head's come down. Now he's actually conceived what he's going across. Instead of this and this. So should your horse stand on the hose, remember it's unintentional, as horses are incapable of being conniving. Ha, 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 ha. As our horse steps on our foot. And so when you change, your horse changes. Be what your horse needs. So that is the end of my fear component. So remember, if you always keep your horse safe, your horse will always keep you safe. Now, what that means is if I always work within what my horse is capable of staying in a responding state, rather than pushing them beyond into a reactive state, I'm always keeping my horse safe. And then I always have a horse that's willing, level-headed, eager to go anywhere, do anything. And that keeps me safe.
Mhm.
And so that's really what this whole section was about. It's about learning about ourselves so we can understand how this is a complex process, equating it to our horses because their physiological system is the same as ours. Because we house them in ways where they don't get say, they don't get to decide when they eat, where they go, who their friends are.
Mhm.
We're creating stress. And how they manage that stress totally impacts their well-being, totally impacts everything about their vagal tone, their thyroid function, their lymphatic system, same as ours. And so I really hope that this makes you start to think about the correlation between your health and their health and how important it is for you to have control. And therefore, how important it is to us to set up everything that we do so they have that say.
Mhm.
We give them that control back, like when they were a wildie running around. They had a say when they ate. They had a say when they drank. They had a say when they wanted to work and when they didn't. And so the more cognizant we can become of all of that, the stronger we become, because the stronger they become, then the two of us start to feed off of each other. And we become super powerful. But it all starts with us. Are there any questions?
Good topic.
It is a
That's
big
a good
topic,
topic.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a really big
Yes, it
topic.
is.
Huge.
And we can't look at our setups and criticize ourselves.
No.
We need to look at our setups and go, okay, so what kind of little changes could I do? And then just make that one little change and let the horses speak and tell us whether or not they like that.
Mhm.
And if they do, well, then we can go back to our thinking outside of the box and thinking, well, what could I do to add to that?
Mhm.
And play and make it enjoyable. And then, you know, start to think about, oh, when I'm going to a clinic, what can I do to make this easier for my horse? Maybe it means I need to get there a whole day earlier.
Mhm.
And you got to figure that out because all horses are different. What they're asking for will be different. And try to work within where they're at. And, you know, mine, I have to pack drinking water from home.
Mhm.
So,
Used to have to do that too.
and so there I am, you know, the most important thing is getting all these stupid jugs loaded in the trailer. And
One of
so,
my
yeah.
vets suggested putting a little bit of lemon in the water all the time so they could smell the lemon.
Yeah.
And when you're traveling, you just add a little bit of lemon to the water and 90% of the time they'll drink it. And actually mine did when we came
Yeah.
across Canada.
Yeah. So that's good. You
I
know,
don't know
all
if it
these little
would-
techniques
yeah.
help, right?
It would have been an awful trip trying to lug 80 gallons of water.
Yeah. 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 Like,
You know, holy
yeah.
cow, where you put that?
yeah, exactly. If I'm going somewhere where there's a stream, I never have to worry.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, so it's just all little things. And the more aware we can become of our body and our system, the magic that we learn because of that really lends us to be way more understanding for our horses
Mhm.
because they can't speak, but they feel the same shit we feel.
Agree.
Yeah. And so part 3, all about the anatomics, we are going to continue on with that next year because it's summertime and everybody's got a gazillion things they want to do. So I decided that the anatomic parts, which would take us well into the middle of August, is probably better off taught when I start off next fall. And so I'll start off next fall doing the whole program again. And everybody that's participated is welcome to participate however much they want and then join in for the full amount for when we get to do the anatomic part.
That's great. Yeah, that's hard in the summertime to get.
Yeah, because everybody's really busy and summer's meant to be enjoyed. So I got enough on my plate too. So I decided to make that kind of
That's a
decision.
good call, Mona. Thank
Yeah,
you. That really
yeah.
helps me out. It's
Yeah.
so hard to
yeah,
sometimes because it's right in the middle of some kind of disaster, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I'm gonna thank everybody, stop the recording, and if everybody wants to stay, they can stay. So thank you, everybody, and I look forward to all your feedback and all of that good kind of stuff. And it's been a real privilege and an honor sharing what I've learned with everybody. And I look forward to picking up with everybody in the fall. And yeah, and as always, I'm always here, so you can shoot me a message, Facebook, or you can send me an email or whatever. And I'd love to keep touch. And so bye for now.
Take care.
Thank you so much.